I think the focus generally is towards problem solving, apart from all of this. That how do we come up with a solution to a problem?
My question is that we talk about tech disruptions happening, and the time that is required for tech disruption has become really short. So for a company like Reckitt, when competitors are coming in from all sides and even new companies are coming with high techs, how do you decide which tech to put money in?
As the finance director for South of Asia, what does a day in your life look like? My name is Sarthak. I have done my MBA in HR from XLRI. So like every one of you sitting here, I am also an XLRI product. For my summers, I interned with Reckitt. Fortunate enough to get a PPO, and then last year joined the company as a management trainee in HR. Had around 3 or 4 stints with the company, and now I'm leading early careers and employer branding and all the campus-related activities on the Reckitt side. Today, Reckitt brings you a compass. And that compass is symbolic of direction and a strategic focus, right? We are here to tell you about what Reckitt does. As the name goes, we have an esteemed panel with 2 of Reckitt's finance leaders. We have Asha Gopalakrishnan, who is the regional finance director for the South of Asia. And we have Nipun Jain, who is the finance director for FP&A and category finance. So let's give them a big round of applause and let's start the session. Great, so we are good to go. Cool, so the first question I have for both you, Asha and Nipun, is that what exactly motivated you to pursue a career in finance? I mean, you've had a stellar career over a lot of domains and a lot of varied experiences, but starting point kya tha?
Okay, I'm going to give the completely politically incorrect answer. The reason why I chose finance was because I was really, really bad at science, especially physics and chemistry. And way back when I was graduating, and that seems like a really long time ago, it was either science or commerce. So I think the choice was simple. That's how I came here. But having come here, serendipitously, it seems I made the right choice, and I'm so thankful.
So for me, I think, apart from what Asha mentioned, which is the case, I think, in most of the cases, yeah. Apart from that, for me, it was the family business in which I was part of. So I was born and brought up in a place called Bhagalpur in Bihar, and we had a family business. So I used to go after my school to the shop, and I used to spend like more than half of my day at the shop. And then when I used to see cash, money and all, it was more about money and more money. So and then I thought that the closest way I can get there is maybe by choosing a career in finance. And then, yeah, I think as I'm here, I feel that I made the right choice.
So, Asha, another question. Exclusively from a finance perspective, what do you think have been the major changes in the FMCG industry over the past decade? Because you've had a very long career in the sector, and you've seen a lot of changes that have occurred, be it technologically or the trends that come and go. So what would you say are the major changes that you've seen in the sector?
The big change that I have seen really is and it's true for all spheres, also true for FMCG, is the pace of technology in itself. And I say this at multiple levels, right? So one is technology for products, because remember, for a consumer, it starts with the product. The product is the ultimate truth. And therefore, what the product has, are they safe? Are they effective? Are they efficacious? If you say there is a product that cleans your toilet and kills germs, does it really kill the germs? So it starts with the product. Then every consumer, she needs to find your product, and you need to find her to tell her your product. It's called physical reach and mental reach. You guys probably know it better than I do, yeah? Again, technology has played a big role here. The way we reach our consumers physically, and all the channel transformations that are happening, you guys are consumers of it too. And mental reach, yeah? Earlier it used to be TV advertising, newspaper advertising, just look at it today. the number of ways you can reach a consumer, the number of people who can reach a consumer, starting with influencers to any person who has any credibility can have a say with the consumer. So, and all these are then ramifications that we navigate as FMCG companies, because that's really then how the consumer is, kind of viewing us, right? And then lastly, I would also say in this whole space of information, there's so much information available. How do you then make sense out of it? There used to be a time when there was very little information available, and whatever was there is what we used to take our decisions. Today, I think the problem is the reverse. We've got too much information, and our ability to therefore cull out insights from the reams and reams and reams of data that's available is the other big change that I've seen.
So you spoke a lot about technology. So how do you think has tech changed decision making and financial operations?
I think the big place where technology has changed decision making, at least if I were to be a little bit more narrow, is really the insights that one is able to pull out from disparate sources of data. And there's so much information that's available, they're not all correlated. Even if they're correlated, it doesn't establish causality. So how do you then start picking up trends and understanding what's really causing the trend and what's the noise? I think that's really, as a finance person, that's really a big way I see technology impacting my life. And the way I used to take decisions earlier versus the way I take decisions today, it's really just the multiplication, exponential increase in information.
Great, got it. So my next question would be that, in companies like ours, Reckitt, our peers as well in the FMCG industry, so functions like sales and marketing are generally the ones we consider are driving the P&Ls of the company and, everything like that. But what would you say are the top 2 or 3 problems that finance is solving for the business currently, in the current scenario?
So 3, let's say, okay, I wouldn't call them problems, but 3 opportunities that finance really helps in. I'd put them into 3 big buckets. Yeah, first one is strategy. And I think it's really about business strategy. Where should we operate? At what price point should we operate? Who's the consumer we're targeting? What should be our route to market? I think finance plays a big role. Contrary to, let's say, some visions of, finance being accountants, in most FMCG companies, certainly in Reckitt, finance is like a co-pilot to the business. And, it's like the CEO's right hand. So really, in that sense, giving inputs into what should be the strategic direction of the business. And when you have multiple businesses, multiple portfolios, there's always a choice you're making. You cannot do everything. You need to make hard choices. And that's really where I think finance brings in the objective lens for you to look at it holistically. The second opportunity that I think we're really going after is, one is about saying, what is the direction? Having determined the direction, the second thing is saying, how do you then run the business on a day-to-day basis? What are the insights that we provide to help the business take the right decisions? What are the insights that we provide to tell us where we're doing right, but equally what's not working, so you can stop it and course correct? Yeah, I think that's the second element of it. And the third, I would say, very relevant today, is this whole area of managing risk. I think that's really where also finance plays a role. And look at it this way. There is a concept in finance called value at risk. If you are able to quantify your risk, it's far easier for you to take decisions. And I think that's the role finance plays, really saying, it's not that we don't take risks. We have to take risks, because if you don't take risks, you're not going to venture into anything useful or future facing, right? But how do you then quantify what could be the max downside, or where do you kind of stop and regroup? And I think that's where finance plays a big role, because then it gives the business the freedom to operate. They're not looking over their shoulder all the time, saying, do we or do we not go for this? Can we afford it? And that is the third place where I think finance plays a big role, managing risk.
I have a rather broad question that, what kind of cross-functional knowledge comes into play when you are, you're a working finance professional in an FMCG sector, because when you are sitting on that table making business decisions, I think finance has its seat over there. So does some sort of knowledge about the other functions, cross-functional knowledge, come into picture over there?
You're not sitting at the table just to give the finance perspective. I mean, you're not there to discuss a new product launch and just say, oh, by the way, this is how the P&L would look like, or this is what your margins would look like. Of course, you got to do that as a finance person, because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. Equally, it's not just about saying, I will talk when there is a discussion around the P&L. I will talk when there is a decision saying, should we even go ahead with this product launch or not? And for us to do that, we need to be clear about, like I said, understanding of the business, understanding of the consumer. So if you are working, let's say, in Hosur factory, you need to know what the production is like. You need to know what the production process is. How are you going to get efficiencies out otherwise, yeah? If you're working with marketing finance, you need to know how the money is being deployed. What is it giving you in return? What are the others doing? So I cannot overemphasize the importance of understanding the business, because as finance professionals, that's what will get you into problem-solving mode, not just a reporting mode. And you want to move to a problem-solving mode if you really want to be a co-pilot helping to run the business.
Okay, so my next question would be to both of you that, when you are sitting at such a senior leadership position in the company, there are decisions to be made on a daily basis. Like you encounter a lot of decisions and you have to take some hard calls, and that's kind of becomes a part of your job. So what was one of the toughest decision that you had to make as a finance professional, and how did you exactly go about it?
Yeah, to give you an example of maybe one of the tough decision that I was part of. Maybe I did not make that decision myself. It was part of a organization and the overall strategy that we had. But I was leading that project. We had a factory which was in somewhere around Chennai. And there we used to manufacture some footwear products like Shawl. We had a brand called Shawl. And therein we sold the brand, and the brand that we were owning was sold to somebody globally, not in India. It was a global divestiture where we sold the brand. The decision that was given to us was to stop the factory, and all the people who were working there, we had to let go of those employees. And the choice that we had then was to see if we could maybe relocate few of them, try to absorb some of them in any other factory operations, etc. But what had happened eventually was, because the location was Chennai and most of the people who were working there were not mobile because they were the workmen in the factory and they had to work there. We had to take a call in terms of letting go of those employees at that point in time, which as such, and these employees were working with us for a long period of time, like 20 years, 25 years. And the other option that we had was to continue the factory and start manufacturing something very different there, like set up a soap line, set up a liquid hand wash line. And while we were making that decision, I was closely part of that decision making, where we thought that it is not prudent for us to set up a factory to manufacture soap or liquid hand wash line there, because our other factories were not utilized to that extent, and the volume that we had in that part of the country did not justify setting up a new factory by investing more capex there. And thus that decision was to be taken eventually, that we had to stop the factory and had to let go of those employees, which was a tough decision as such for me. And but what we did was, we came up with what best can be done for the employees there, and tried to work with some of our contract manufacturing units or the co-packers, whom we said if they had any utility of the factory, we could work with them and sell off the factory instead of shutting it down, and shutting it down would mean the people would lose their job. And the good part was that we were able to get into a deal with the contract manufacturer, wherein we sold the factory, and then the job, etc., was secured for these people. So I think it started with a problem and a decision which was very hard to take. But eventually, because I think in Reckitt, we have that mindset of care in minds, and that is one of our leadership values. We were told to see how we can optimize the situation and try to have something win-win situation for all of us. And eventually we came out with something that worked well. So yeah.
So this is slightly dated, but for me it still holds lessons even today, which is that one of our flagship brands in my previous company is a brand which has been around for a very long time, very trusted with consumers, and it's not a brand where you would tamper with the formulation lightly. This brand was going through a relaunch and we were going to change the formulation. We were also going to change the packaging design, for which we were going to have a brand new technology come in. So even the way we were making it was a face cream in a tube, and even the way we were making the tubes was going to change. The technology was going to change because it was more sustainable. It was also more cost effective. It was risky to say the least, and I think for us the decision to actually go ahead with it and the project management around it was really, for me, my biggest learning. And the way we looked at what are the risk profiles, again the value at risk, what are the checkpoints, where do we really escalate, deciding early on saying that this is the point which is a no-go, no-go, and having multiple of these checkpoints at different points through the project gave me invaluable lessons on how to manage risk, how to run a project, how to take a risk, how to just stick your neck out and go and do something that you believe in while you're making sure you're covering all the known risks, but there will always be the unknown. But as long as you're doing the right thing, just go for it and do it. And well, if it fails, it fails. Thankfully, this one didn't, but I think it was more luck than anything else.
I think one thing that all three of us can agree on is that at Reckitt we take careers very seriously, right? We try and put the individual on the driving seat as far as their careers are concerned, and we take a well-rounded decision on what are the probable steps ahead and all of that. So what do you think a career path looks like for someone who, let's say, graduates fresh from an MBA college and joins the finance domain of a multinational FMCG in India? So kaisa unka growth path, how does it look like?
So I think in Reckitt we believe in depth as well as breadth of experience. So if we see anybody starting a career with Reckitt, first of all, as knowing the business is the most important thing, knowing the business cold. So we give an exposure where during the management trainee stint, the person, he or she, would be doing roles in different sub-finance verticals like supply finance, commercial finance, controllership, accounting, as well as it would be in maybe FP&A, category finance. So that is something where you will get maybe 2 or 3 out of these experiences for sure during the first year of management trainee stint. And then the belief that we have is working in different sub-functions helps you learn a lot about the entire organization and the business. So we try to give experiences across these verticals, starting from supply, commercial, FP&A, accounting, because all these profiles add a lot of value to the person. Like if we are in accounting, a lot of things that what can we do and what we cannot do in terms of accounting, bookkeeping, technical side of it, it is really, really helpful. In terms of supply finance, how will the supply chain look like? What is the sourcing methodology and all of it? So I think we feel all of these different functions gives a lot of rich exposure to the person. And what we believe also is in Reckitt is the only company which as such I am aware of, and where each and every person has a career map. And that is what we really believe in, which is reviewed like twice or thrice a year with the manager, with the HR, wherein you have your aspirational role, and that aspirational role can be anything. You can write, you want to be CFO of the company, of this company, you want to even be a CEO of the organization. You can write whatever your aspiration is. That is not something which is a short-term or even a long-term goal. That is your aspirational role. And basis that you come up with what do you want to do in the next 3 years, 3 to 6 years, and 6 to 9 years. And you have like 3 or 4 roles mentioned against each of these buckets, because within a large organization like ours, it is not very really important that you will get what you want immediately, because it also depends on what is the role that is opening up, what is the timing, what is it that we can trust you at that point in time. So you have 3 or 4 roles mentioned against each of these segment or duration. That 0 to 3 years, I want to do maybe a role as a finance manager in a factory, a regional commercial manager, or a sales finance manager in corporate office, or a category finance manager handling a category. So that once we get an opportunity to place you in any of these roles, we do that. And when you see this from 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and 6 to 9, over this 9 years or over this 6 years, you would have done roles across these sub-function, which will then ensure that you reach closer to your aspiration and what you really want to achieve, which works beautifully. I think that one piece of document helps navigate through your career choices very well.
Great. I think at Reckitt, no matter what level you're working at, what band you're working at, there's always a North Star that we ask you to plan, right? And then your entire career journey is maneuvered to, aid you getting to that North Star. So that is the kind of importance we place on the careers of people. Great. So next question, and I think I am also very inquisitive in knowing the answer, is that Asha, as the finance director for South of Asia, what does a day in your life look like?
Okay, I'm going to make this up a little bit to give you a flavor of what I do. Obviously, each day may be a little different. I still have a few meetings which I try and wriggle out of as much as I can. But so typically, it would be, let's say, with the leadership team, which is the CEO and the other heads, the marketing head, sales head, etc., where we get together to either discuss some new strategic direction that we want to take the business in, some new product that we want to launch. We discuss the pros and cons. We may be discussing some people-related stuff as well, if you want to, have a look at, like today we just had a call on medical insurance, saying, how do we kind of reshape it? What are the other companies doing? I could typically have meetings with my leadership team on, what are some of the challenges the finance function is facing? Where are we on getting some of the finance automation initiatives going? How are we partnering some of the business critical initiatives? So a bit of a stock take there. I could be doing my share of accounting, balance sheet review, controls, risk management. I will have my share of conversations with the global teams, whether it is the brand teams or it is the controllers team or it is even the treasury team, etc. So because we lean a lot on Reckitt globally for a lot of stuff. And then I usually, almost always, I end up meeting my HR partner as well to discuss team, talent, recruitment, hiring, campus. So there's a bit of all of that, yeah.
So for these people who are, aspiring to, let's say, create a career in Reckitt in the finance domain, what exactly are you looking at? I mean, what are the qualities on an individual basis? Any technical knowledge? What sort of a personality are you looking at?
Okay, we're not looking for a particular type because, the more types we have, the richer the decisions and the outcomes of the team would be. I always divide, and when I look at a candidate, I assess them on two counts. Yeah? One is attitude and the other is aptitude. And aptitude is really what your scores, your academic performance, all of that really tells, right? Even things like your ability to communicate, the way you come across in an interview, in a case study, all of that I would call it as aptitude. But then there is also the attitude, which is really, are you exhibiting a keenness to learn? Are you exhibiting a keenness to add value, to deliver impact? Are you exhibiting a keenness to collaborate with other people, to subsume your own individual points of view for the larger good? Are you able to do that in a graceful manner? I think these are some of what I would call attitude, and really what we look for, Sarthak, is you guys bring the right attitude, aptitude we'll teach you. That's not a problem, yeah.
I think Asha has mentioned the thing that we look forward to. And if I have to specifically talk about the case studies, etc., that you get, I think the focus generally is towards problem solving, apart from all of this. That how do we come up with a solution to a problem? If you get into details of things, you will come up with what the real problem is. and then we come up with a solution. So there should be a problem-solving mindset, because on a daily basis you will encounter a lot of problematic situation which we need to deal with. So that is something which is a must for us.
What's the one piece of advice that you would want to leave the audience with? I mean, it has been said multiple times that they are in a state of perplexity right now. They've just joined the B school. They're going to face a lot of situations coming ahead. So what will be your 2 cents for them?
I'm sure you guys are sick of advice, but let me just add to the pot. It's okay if you don't know where you're headed. It's all right. There is no such thing as a point of no return. Yeah. So seek out your experiences, enjoy them, learn in the process, make friends, but most importantly, feel like you've achieved something at the end of it, even if it's just a lot of learning, even if you totally, utterly fail at it. There is no point of no return. You can always double back and choose something else or go some other path which works better for you. So don't overthink it, go with the flow, but enjoy the journey, guys, because ultimately that's why we're all here, right?
So before we close for tonight, let's have the final round of questions.
Hi, Shubham here from the BM batch. So my question is, so for example, for a company like Reckitt, which has an umbrella of brands under it, so many brands are doing very well, and let's say they are generating a lot of cash. So do you guys have the liberty or the option to, let's say, transfer capital from a brand which is doing very well to a brand which is not doing so well in, let's say, terms of growth? And if yes, how do we make that decision? Do we, let's say, double down on the brand which is doing very well and keep on growing it? Or do we, let's say, allocate capital effectively across all the brands? So how is that decision made? And if yes, what are the factors which lead to such a decision?
So yes, we certainly look at, it's called portfolio management, right? And the more diverse your portfolio is, the more you're able to then manage across multiple brands and categories. How do we decide to do it? We need to make sure that your businesses that are doing well don't start getting milked. So you need to make sure they're adequately funded. And that is something that we need to, you can't take your eye off that ball. Equally, if a business is not doing well, if you've diagnosed the reason why it's not doing well, if you've diagnosed it correctly, then you put money to solve that problem. So for example, if your product quality is not good, you don't put more money behind advertising. It's not going to help. Your brand's not going to grow. You solve the problem by investing in the product. If it is distribution, you invest in distribution. If it is mental reach, the consumer doesn't know you exist, by all means put it behind advertising. If it is just an industry downturn, then don't put money behind it, because then you're throwing good money behind bad. So that's how some of these conversations, I mean, I'm simplifying it a bit to, kind of bring the point, but these are how some of the conversations typically happen. Yeah.
Hi, Rohan here from BM batch. So my question is that we talk about tech disruptions happening, and the time that is required for tech disruption has become really short. So for a company like Reckitt, when competitors are coming in from all sides and even new companies are coming with high techs, how do you decide which tech to put money in and which not to? How do you decide that? How does that conversation go from finance point of view?
Yeah, so I think whenever we have an investment proposal, the thing that we see is we prepare a benefit case out of it. What is it that we would be gaining from the tech intervention, or for that matter, any investment that we do. Like for example, we generally are not in too much of hurry to implement whatever is there available in the market. We have to evaluate what it brings on the table, and basis that, then see if that helps us in any of ways. Like one, it can help in process improvement. Yes, if it helps in process improvement, control improvement, yes, we will go for it. If it helps in having a better earning model, better decision making, yes, we'll go for it. So the only thing that drives us is what is the benefit that we will be generating out of this, and what has been the experience of people who have used the technology, what is the experience of different competition, where we keep seeing competitive benchmarking as well, wherein we see what the competition is doing. At times, we also borrow with pride, wherein we see that yes, there is some tool which is available in the market which can be replicated. Or the third thing is, if it eases the life of our people in terms of our sales force, etc., who are the people who go to the market, take order, and see if their life gets enabled by any of these technological intervention, which is something where we would be very happy to invest our money on.
That brings us to the end of this session. Thanks a lot, Asha and Nipun, for agreeing to do this.